What's up everyone, how we doing today? It's your boy Brap Genius back at it again with another video. Today I'm going to be talking about the worst bike that I have ever owned. Yeah, start it off right, boys! Yeah! Oh my gosh.
Hi Mom, sorry not sorry!
Yeah, we're getting real muddy.
But on camera when I die?
Of course. So just to give you guys a little bit of background, I think I've owned about 6 or 7 bikes. We will find out at the end of this list. I'm going to go in order from the first bike I own to the most recent ones that I own, and just tell you which one I think is the worst and why. So I started with a 2002 Yamaha YZ250. After that I bought a Kawasaki Ninja 650R. It was the 2009. After that I bought this bike, a 2005 GSXR 1000. And obviously this is one of my favorite bikes because I still have it. After that, I bought a 2007 Yamaha YZ250F Enduro. Next, I bought a 2007 KTM 200 XCW Enduro. And following that, I bought a 2005 Honda Shadow 750 Aero. Or actually, that was free, but still, it's one of the bikes that I've owned. So now, out of that list, those are all different kinds of bikes, all different kinds of backgrounds. Okay? Now, part of the reason that the worst bike I've ever ridden is the worst bike I've ever ridden is because of, you know, what I used it for. If I didn't use it specifically for what I did, it probably would have been a better bike. So this is out of the bikes that I've ever owned. This doesn't include other ones I've ridden. I've ridden other cruisers, other sport bikes, all kinds of bikes. I've ridden naked bikes, you know, all kinds of bikes. But this is specifically out of what I've owned because I've had the time to really get to know the bike. I don't want to just give you an unbiased opinion because I got to ride a bike for one ride and now all of a sudden that bike just makes it good or bad based off of one ride. I want to talk about what specifically was wrong. So in my opinion, the worst bike that I've ever owned was the 2007 Yamaha YZ250F. Now this is for a number of reasons, one being which mechanically it was not in the most sound shape. I think it needed the valves checked. The carb I'm pretty sure was okay, but I don't know, maybe that needed to be adjusted too. So there's going to be a little bit of biasy in this because that bike was not running as well as it should have. Now some of the reasons that I think it was the worst bike I've ever owned is because it kind of just sucked, you know. If I rode it on the road, like I said, it was an Enduro, it was pretty fun, you know. I didn't have any problems, it wasn't overheating. But in the woods, I had so many problems with that bike overheating. So if you took that bike and made it into a supermoto, it probably would have been okay. But just from things that I noticed riding it, the throttle response compared to my other bikes was really crappy. It was almost delayed. So I really wouldn't get as much out of it as I wanted to. You know, if I went to like one of my buddies' driveways or something just to practice wheelies, I really couldn't. Because by the time it would respond to me flipping the throttle and, you know, letting out the clutch, like, it would just be so delayed, you know, you couldn't get it up. And then, you know, I could do power wheelies, but I don't really like to do power wheelies. I like to have, I feel like you have more control with the clutch. So, I mean, the power on that bike was great, but that was probably the only good thing about it. The suspension, it really was not for the woods and the Enduro riding that I was doing. Also, it was only a 5-speed, so it really didn't do what I needed it to do. You know, it could handle road speeds, but if you have to go on the highway, it really couldn't do that. So even if I made it into a supermoto, not that I would really go on the highway, but, you know, if I have to go faster speeds, I would like to be able to do it. That's just something I personally look for in a bike. In the woods, it was just too heavy and too hard just to throw around. Like, it was just not for the kind of riding I was doing, especially in single track. And I was aware before I bought it that it was not for single track, and I normally don't even really ride single track. But from what I noticed, you know, even if I'm riding normal trails, unless I'm really in a higher gear, the thing was overheating. And that also has to do with, you know, where I was riding. The previous owner that owned the bike, he was riding mostly in sands in another part of the state. So he had no problem because it was open trails. Those 4-stroke dirt bikes are made to be able to move fast and breathe in order to cool down the engine. an air-cooled bike. So I just kept having all different problems, and then eventually I think the stator went bad or something. You know, this bike was not specifically made to have lights and stuff like that. They were aftermarket, so the lights that were put on it eventually stopped working, and I just kept having problem after problem after problem. So I just decided I don't want to do it. The guy gave me a new stator. I gave that to the person that I sold it to, so I don't know how it's doing now. I need to hit him up and ask him. He made it into a supermoto, so hopefully, you know, he's having better luck with it than I did. But I sold it to him for a lot cheaper than I got it for, and that was the only bike I've ever taken a loss on after selling. Normally I've gotten all my money back just about when I bought a bike, with the exception of maybe one or two. Everything else I've made the money back or profited. But that bike, I wanted to get my Mustang, so I just took the L when I sold it. So from beginning to end, you know, I didn't like the bike. I didn't really like the way it rode. It was too heavy. I'm a smaller rider. It wasn't for me. Now you could take all these biases as well and take them to heart when you're looking at a bike. I'm not saying, you know, a YZ450 is a bad bike. Just the one that I had, I just really didn't like it. It wasn't for me. This is an opinionated video. You could argue it's one of the best bikes you could buy. So that's it, guys. The 2007 Yamaha YZ450 is probably the worst motorcycle I've ever owned, and hopefully it is in general. I'm just saying it wasn't for me, and you know, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't what I was looking for. So hopefully you guys like this video. If you guys have other videos or topics that you want me to do, let me know down below in the comments. I'd be more than happy to make it for you guys. So everybody, you have a great day, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.